Hey, well, as always, it's so good to be with you, and especially on Love for the House Sunday. Today, we're raising an offering to invest in this church, your house, amongst your people, your tribe, to advance what we're doing. More of that a little later. But let me say, to start with, I was introduced a few weeks ago to a whole new set of language, a Gen Z language. Some of you will be way more familiar with it than I, and I'm getting locked in on this, no cap. And I particularly was introduced to the word vibe. Now, not a new word. In the 60s, we said there were good vibes or bad vibes to talk about a resonance in the atmosphere, maybe a spiritual thing. We talk about a place having a vibe because it has a certain atmosphere. But this is how it was introduced to me. Apparently now you can say something is a vibe. So Lisby and I were getting rid of an old chair, really old chair. And Hannah, Ben's fiance, our son's fiance, said, "Oh, but it is a vibe." Apparently something vintage is a vibe or can be a vibe. I want to say to us today, if there is anything or anyone that is a vibe, Jesus is a vibe, His church is a vibe, C3 Imagine is a vibe. I've called this message, This Tribe is a Vibe. This tribe is a vibe. Turn with me to Matthew 16 and verse 18 so we can unpack this together and get ready to give. He says, "And I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it." An incredibly powerful verse, very well known. If you've been in the church world a lot, you would have heard this before. "I'll build my church on the rock, and the gates of Hades cannot prevail against it." I love God's church. It is a vibe. It's a vibe because it's a rock that's going nowhere. It's a vibe because it is victorious against everything that comes against it. Get this. I reckon Jesus is always so intentional. He was that sort of combo between an alpha male, because he loved being part of the pack. He could be the leader in the midst of that pack, but he's also that Sigma male. Okay, am I doing all right, Gen Zs? He was okay and comfortable with being aloof, unconventional, out of the box, pushed against certain social norms. He was that sort of leader. He was intentional about when and how this verse happened. He was in Caesarea Philippi, surrounded by cliffs and rocks and idols carved in these rocks. It was particularly the center of Roman and Greek worship, idolatry, particularly of the god of Pan, which is imageried as a combination between a goat and a man. I know, crazy. The people worship such things. And there was a grotto there, and in that grotto they would do these sacrifices to this god. It was an evil place, sinister. And Jesus may well have been looking at the entrance to that grotto, because some say that the nickname of that would have been, or a parallel to that would have been, the gates of Hades, the entrance to this grotto, this dark place. And so when he was saying the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it, he had all around him this imagery when he said to his disciples, "Who do men say that I am?" And the Apostle Peter had this revelation. Oh my gosh, you are Jesus, the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, "That's a revelation, my friend, bro. That's a revelation. And on this rock of revelation, I'll build my church." I love God's church. The church stands apart from anything else. It's a place of refuge, peace, power, wisdom, life, joy, grace, meaningful relationships, healing, deliverance, favor, goodness, kindness, patience. And Jesus was surrounded with all these forces and yet could stand there confident, not just in who he was, but who the church is throughout the ages, unmoved, against all circumstances, unmoved. Isn't that a beautiful thing? You can come into God's house and know that it is our presence that is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It is a vibe. Psalm 26:8 says, Lord, I love the house where you live, the place where your glory dwells. Psalm 122:1, I rejoiced with those who said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. I love God's church. It's always consistent, always the same. But I gotta say, I love this church. This tribe is a vibe. Amen? Give someone a high five. This tribe is a vibe. What's our vibe? Hospitality is our vibe. We embrace, we include. Anyone can come, anyone can belong. We're ready to be generous in our serving of anyone so they may leave this place better for it. They may leave this place shaped into the image of Christ, because discipleship is part of what is our vibe, that we want to see people transformed in Christ and empowered for purpose, becoming like Jesus. The presence of God is part of the vibe that you experience here. There is power, there is prayer, there is worship. Faith is part of the vibe. That is, we are confident in what God has called us to. We're confident in our relationship with God. We go on adventures together. We believe God over circumstances. We believe the truth over opinion. We are people of faith. Freedom is in this place. Joy and liberty and laughter and deliverance. Freedom is part of this vibe. We are hungry people. We are seeking God type of people. This is a tribe that is a vibe. We're on a mission to see lights, the light of Christ turned on all over our city. That is hope on every street. I want you to just imagine for a minute, lights all over the city, switching on as Christ comes into the heart and lives of so many people. This tribe is a vibe, and we're committed to the future. This is where your friends are, your Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's, the people who will stand in the fire with you, who will go somewhere with you. This is a place where so many of us have got memories of God encounters, where we've been shaped by a discipling friend. We've been shaped by Jesus himself. My gosh, it's in this place that my shyness has turned into confidence. My brokenness has been turned into wholeness. My sense of reticence or doubts have been turned into clarity and perspective. I thank God I found this tribe, the tribe of C3 that I call my home, that many of us call our home. This is the place we love. It says in Psalm 102, verse 13, you will arise, O God, and have mercy on Zion, for the time to favor her, yes, the set time has come. For your servants take pleasure in her stones and show favor to her dust. When we favor our tribe, God is attracted to it. He is drawn to it. It says here, show favor to her, to the dust. What is that? The broken down parts, the insignificant parts, the less obvious parts, the remains. Paul says in Corinthians, it's those less obvious parts that get the greatest honor. I don't know what you feel like today, whether you don't feel like you're fully fit, whether you feel like you're broken down. I want to tell you belong here. We love the fact you're part of our tribe. We love the fact you dared to come today if this is your first time. You fit. You belong. You are part of us. It talks about the stones. In 1 Peter, it talks about the fact the living stones are you and I. We're building material of what God is doing. That's what I love about the vibe of God's church. Is it's a supernatural thing. It's not a man-made idea or a man-made construction. Very much like nature. You know, you put seeds in the ground, and those seeds break down into starches, turn into proteins or glucose, or proteins into energy, and DNA structure begins to form, and eventually life bursts out, shoots appear, and plants grow. It's a mystery how it happens. The church is like that. It's a mystery as we are in His presence together, as we're in His Word together, as we're in fellowship together, as we hang together. So God is doing something. And I'm telling you, right now, God is definitely up to something. There is something on the move in our tribe in C3 Imagine. This is God's design. We're on a mission. He plants us in a church. He causes us to find our place in our tribe. Psalm 68:6 says that He puts us into family units, into tribes. That's what He does. He puts us into a soil where we flourish. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of our God. Anybody want to flourish today? Anyone want their lives just to be better off? Well, when we're planted in His house, we are so much better off when we are allowing ourselves to engage with the tribe God's put us in, when we allow ourselves to, on the good days and the tough days, on when things seem to work out and when things don't work out, when seasons are seemingly fruitful or seemingly dry, we stand strong with our tribe, in our tribe, for our tribe, because this tribe is a vibe. This tribe is a vibe. So I want to encourage you today to engage with the vibe of this tribe. What is it in this place that God is up to? What is He doing? What's the DNA in this place that causes our hearts to be connected to it in such a supernatural way? What is it that God is working in you and I that makes such a difference? And one of the ways we can engage is to give, where we put our money where our tribe is, where we invest in, where we give to, where we're generous to. So I want to go through 5 reasons to give to the tribe that is a vibe. Amy Carmichael said, "You can give without loving, but you can't love without giving." Let me say that again. You can give without loving, but you can't love without giving. And so today, as we give and as we raise this offering, and in fact, as any time we give, these principles are true. 5 reasons to give to the tribe that is a vibe. Number 1, it is an ancient practice. It's not a new idea. Being generous is not a new idea. Giving to the church is not a new idea. Giving to projects, not a new idea. All through Scripture, we see that the Bible is talking about sacrifices, giving to the poor, not harvesting all the crops in our field, leave some for those who have none. Paul talks about raising money, one church for another when the other one needs help. That's all through Scripture. The Bible gives us even a starting point for our generosity. It calls it the tithe. It's a 10%. Abraham gave 10% of spoils of war. Jacob, his grandson, carried on the practice, and we read about this sort of principle of a starting point of generosity. I would encourage us to engage in that. Jesus says to the Pharisees, you've stopped acts of kindness for the tithe, but you can do both, do it all. In fact, that is typical of the New Testament. Jesus says, well, take what is in the old, don't murder, but let's add to it, don't get angry. Don't commit adultery in the Old Testament. Don't even have a lustful thought in the New Testament. New Testament always goes one step further than the Old. And so all through Scripture, we would see this concept that generosity, God has given us like a benchmark. Come on, guys, start at 10% and build up from there. There are times they gave multiples of 10%. Maybe today that's your starting point to switch on faith and go, I'm going to start raising my generosity. If I haven't got to that 10% mark yet, I'm going to start giving regularly 10% of my income or my profits or all that comes to me. It's a step of faith. It's a step of devotion. It's a seeking first Jesus. It's a principle of the first where we go, Jesus, I'm devoted to you. First, before all else, this is yours. Everything I have belongs to you. So here's something of an act of worship back to you, to give and to be generous. The second reason we should give to the tribe is that you share in the ownership. Would you rather be an an owner or a tenant? Come on. Would you rather just be sort of passing through as a tenant? Or would you like to be owning something? Go, man, I was part of that. This church has been built by the commitment of people over 25 years, giving, committing, being an owner of it through the difficult days and through the glorious days of our church history. People have remained faithful and committed. You can be part of it too. The church should buck the trend, should go against the trend of the Pareto principle. That is 20% doing all the work for 80%. 20% creates the effect of the 80%. It should be the other way around. In fact, it should be like 100% engagement. Can you imagine the power of everyone getting involved? If everyone brought generous offerings, if everyone brought a tithe into the house, if everyone gave over and above. Haggai in the Old Testament called the people to rebuild God's house together. He said, let's take ownership of this. We're good at looking after our own individual houses, but let's together look after the church. Nehemiah, he called people to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and they did it side by side. We worship together. We listen to the word together. We go to group together. Oh gosh, the power of giving together takes us into a whole new zone of shared ownership. Why don't you today decide to share in the ownership of building this tribe? Third reason we should give to the tribe that is a vibe is you engage in a community move of God. Oh my gosh. Throughout history, when God's church united to achieve something, and they called out in prayer, moves of God happened. When we together give of ourselves, Paul's talked about the church in Philippi giving beyond themselves to the point of the extreme. And he said this, my God is going to supply all of your needs. He made a pronouncement of a supernatural activity in their midst. When we give together, God moves amongst us. There is a move of God that happens in the community. There is clearly something going on. When hearts are engaged deeper, God can do a more profound work. A spiritual renewal happens. Because when you give generously, you're left without. You're going to be missing something. That takes faith. That takes trust in God. And we know that faith is a trigger for God to bring a reward. We know the Bible talks about it in Hebrews 11:6. Faith and pursuit of God always attracts a reward. When we are prepared to step out in faith and give in that realm of trusting Him, we know there is a move of God, windows of heaven opening over us because of the principle of sowing and reaping, which is my fourth point. 5 reasons to give to the tribe that is a vibe. Fourth point, it reaps a harvest. If we sow generously, we will reap generously. 2 Corinthians 9:6. Hey, you take a basil seed. I'm talking to all you foodies who love to grow your own herbs at home. Take a basil seed, put it in the ground or in a pot. You'd be highly disappointed if no basil came out of that. But if you put a basil seed in the ground, it's pretty much a guarantee it's going to create a basil plant. And if you put several seeds in there, several plants are going to grow. It just is the law of the harvest, the law of nature. It's the same, the Bible says, of money. Our money is like a seed. What we sow, we shall also reap. The more we sow, the more we reap. How we sow is also important. Paul says, give cheerfully. Our attitude of giving, the joy in our giving also has a factor. Giving by faith has an influence upon the whole dynamic of the harvest in our world. What we sow, how we sow. But what we need to know is whilst it leaves our hand, whilst that money leaves our hand, it does not leave our life. It leaves something in our life because we've given from a spiritual motivation to spiritual things. God continues to work. He multiplies that seed, and you will find that you get blessed because you give. What you give to gets blessed. There is a harvest in Jesus' name. And finally, we give because God's mission gets accomplished. This tribe is a vibe because we are on a mission which is intentional. We're on a mission to see hope on every street, a group in every neighborhood. We want to see lights switching on all over the city. And I want you today to think about how you can engage in this mission, how to accomplish God's mission through this tribe. This tribe is a vibe, and I want you to connect your spirit to what God is up to today in this place. As I hand back over right now to enable us to give you space to give, I want to read this scripture to you, 2 Chronicles 7:16. I want this to land in your spirit because God's smiling on you today. God's smiling on his church globally today because he is building a magnificent church, and God's smiling on this church today, our tribe. And as we favor her, as we do something to bless this tribe, so God favors it also. He says in 2 Chronicles 7:16, I have chosen and consecrated this temple so that my name may be there forever. My eyes and my heart will always be there. God bless you.